I see the honourable member for Edmonton Ellerslie has risen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So happy to get up and actually speak to this proposed amendment by the member from Calgary-McCall, because of course I'm an individual who strongly believes that in not only when it comes to education in terms of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but all of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I'll remind this House that the reason for that is because I was actually born in a country where democracy was crushed. It was crushed in a way that was so unfathomable, where people who fought for the right of every individual to be able to have access to good quality education were either made to disappear or they were killed right in the streets. Because the people who were against them thought this was a socialist idea, that everybody should have equal access to good quality education. They said is a socialist idea, and therefore is not worthy. I believe in human dignity. I believe that each and every individual should be respected. Put the politics aside. Put the politics aside and let us focus on who we're talking about when it comes to education. We're talking about your children. We're talking about my children. We're talking about all the children of all Albertans. So when it comes to education and the future of the education of each and every individual within this province, we should be focused on making sure that each and every Albertan gets equal access and the opportunity to educate themselves. And why shouldn't we stand up and say that the principles contained within Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as they pertain to education, let us strive to make sure that our policies, that we implement those values, those principles, those ideas, because it's noble. It is noble to do so. So while I respect, immensely I respect the opinions of the members on the other side and what they are trying to do with this particular bill, that they are sincerely, as pertains to Article 26, subsection 3, that parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. I understand and I get it. But let us not forget the other two subsections of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights when it comes to education. And this is why I strongly urge every member of this House to support this amendment. Because although I respect what you're trying to do, my concern are the adverse effects of what will happen when you implement what is contained within this bill. And I've gotten up to speak specifically to the bill, and now I'm speaking to the amendment, of course. But as I stated when I was speaking to the bill, the experience that I've had, the reality of how this bill has, what is contained within this bill has been implemented in other jurisdictions, has actually led to the adverse effect of people being marginalized out of a good quality education. And that is my true concern here, members. Now, if you can demonstrate for me that by implementing what is contained in this bill, those adverse effects will not happen, then I could stand in this house and vote with you. But I'm not seeing that. Everywhere where I see these concepts and these principles contained within this bill and how they're applied in other jurisdictions, we see the marginalization of specific peoples. Now, I stand before you as a Muslim Latino. All over the United States of America, blacks and Latinos are marginalized out of the education system because they're implementing the exact same values and principles contained within this here bill. You're asking me to sign off on what I know will be an immensely adverse effect on people of diverse ethnic origin. If that's not the case, then demonstrate it for me, members. But everywhere I see these concepts implemented, I see the marginalization of specific groups of people. And here in our own province, we face similar challenges with the fact that Indigenous children and people from rural areas have less access to education. I am not convinced that this is actually going to help those populations. Now, I understand that you want to give more choice, but my fear is that what's going to happen is that this is the slippery slope that's going to lead us towards this American-style privatized education here in the province of Alberta. And I'm concerned about that. Now, this could easily be fixed by letting every Albertan know that we subscribe to the entire Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as it applies to education, and how has so eloquently been stated by the member from Calgary, McCall. We should be focused on providing free education for all. And I'll just read subsection 1 of Article 26. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. In Chile right now, where my family is originally from, where I'm originally from, where I was born, the education system has been privatized in the same way that it has in the United States. And people that come from marginalized areas, rural areas, indigenous people in Chile do not have access to good quality education. And it's very difficult for them to get access to good quality education, even at the elementary, in the fundamental stage. So my question to you members of the governing party is, how are you going to make sure that that does not happen here in the province of Alberta? Because the challenge already exists, that Indigenous and rural people do not have the same access as people in the cosmopolitan centers. And my fear is that you're going to make a bad problem, or a difficult problem, a difficult challenge, even worse. We need to send a clear signal to all Albertans that every child in this province has the right to good quality education. And not just those who can afford it, whose parents can afford it. It's possible for us to create the same choice that you're speaking of within the within the public system. There's a perfect example actually at Grace Martin School. It's called the Sakina Circle. It's specifically focused on Islamic education. I know so many families who send their children to Grace Martin School in Mill Woods. And it's a wonderful program where the children learn the curriculum, the Alberta curriculum, as they would in any other school. But then on top of that, the children learn how to read and write Arabic. They also learn from the Quran. They get to learn about their religion and the values and the principles upon which their noble, sacred scripture is based. And the parents can continue to educate their children as they see so fit. And this all happens within the public system at Grace Martin School within the Sakina Circle program. A lot of those children that go to that school come from economically challenged families. Now, my concern is that we're going to follow and we're going to fall into the trap that other jurisdictions have done by introducing these kinds of principles and values into their education system. And then those same families that the parents have to work, 2, maybe even 3 jobs, are not going to be able to send their kids to get that same Islamic education that they are already getting through Grace Martin School. This is my concern. Subsection 2 of Article 26 goes on to say, education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. I can think of no better example than that within the Sakina Circle at Grace Martin School within the public school system, right here in the city of Edmonton. I cherish the opportunities that I have to actually go and visit the program and talk to the children and talk to them. And I do. Every time I have the opportunity to visit Grace Martin School and read to the children, I always make sure to mention Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and how important it is. And being a Muslim, sharing with young Muslims, talking about how for us to be a good Muslim is to be a good human being, to strive to be of noble character, to promote peace, to promote love and understanding amongst all people, which is exactly what Article 26 is all about in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. By voting for this amendment, we would be declaring to each and every Albertan that we believe in all aspects of Article 26 and that we're going to attempt to incorporate it into every aspect of education within the province of Alberta. To not vote for it would say that, no, that's not important. And I would hope that for every member in this House, it would be important to say, yes, we do support subsections 1 and subsections 2 of Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But unfortunately, what we're seeing from this government is actually the reverse. And I want to take this opportunity to read for you a post by a mother. Her name is Amanda Keene. She posted this on Facebook on June 10th at 7:19 p.m. It reads like this. I cried today. I cried hard today. I cried hard today for my child. I cried after being told my child would not receive the support she needs in her class next year. I cried as I heard that her SLP was being cut from 1.5 to a 0.5 FTE position. I cried as I was told she may not receive any speech time next year. I cried knowing my daughter only meets the PUF criteria by 3 months now, as the age has been cut from 6 to 4.8 years old. I cried for the parents who have children with more severe needs than my own. I cried for the teachers who are tired and uncertain and can no longer hide the worried looks from their faces. I cried knowing Alberta voted for this. I cried the hardest as I looked at my daughter innocently playing in the yard, knowing she deserves better. So while I try not to share my political beliefs, next time you vote, Alberta, do better. Sincerely, one heartbroken and angry mama. Now, of course, Amanda Keene is but one. But this is the reality that parents are going through here in the province of Alberta when it comes to this education system. I'm begging you to listen. I'm begging you to listen to the voices of mothers like Amanda Keene. By voting for this amendment, you would be supporting the reverse of what's being actually described by Amanda Keene in her post dated on June 10th. We would strive to make education free in the province of Alberta. And why not? Why not, members? Why not? I know that you agree with me that you have a deep respect for Albertans. So then let's treat them with dignity. I can't tell you the number of constituents that I speak to that have come here from other countries. And one of the main reasons why they come here and they want to live in the province of Alberta and they want to live here in this great country called Canada is because they know that their children are going to get better access to education. But what are we doing? We're actually making the education system worse, as is being described by Amanda Keene in her post from June 10th. We have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to Albertans, and it's even more importantly, it's to those Albertans that are coming in the future. They need access to education, because education is going to give them the opportunities that they need to be able to realize themselves as human beings, to be able to succeed in this world, and not just economically, but socially and spiritually as well. So I'm asking you, please, members of this House,